So I know I said I was going to do this under the car so you could see it, like how it would be if you're doing it that way, but I tried it. You really can't get enough lighting under there to make it worthwhile recording, so I'm going to do it out here. And hopefully the footage is a little bit better. So this is setting the pinion bearings. I'm going to show you a couple things, pick the camera up, show you inside the housing before I start, and then I'll pop the pinion in, show you the initial mock-up on it, and see where I'm at on that sleeve. So here we go. So when you are putting one of these together, I just knocked the races in, and you have to be pretty diligent when you do it and make sure they are seated 100%. So this shoulder right here is the little window that you use to knock the race out. Well, you can look right there and make sure that race is completely bottomed out on the shoulder before moving forward. So you got that one. That wasn't supposed to happen. Sometimes it does. And then you got the inner. You see the same shoulder down there. Both sides. You just want to make sure. You can kind of hear the sound of the race change when you're driving it in, but you got to make sure those are in 100%. They can't be slacked off a little bit or it will screw everything up when you set your pinion. A couple other things. When you clean the housings out, this little channel right here, where the end of your axle tube meets your carrier, meets your center section housing, it will fill with metal debris, gear wear, that will just all collect in there. You got to make sure you get those clean. If you don't, you will wipe a new set of bearings out. So make sure you get it clean. Get your tubes clean. I scrubbed these with a toilet brush. I have a round Libman brush that fits really tight in there. Scrub them. You want to get everything out of them. Okay, now we're going to start on the pinion. Set this back up. Try to get it where you can get a good view. First things first on the pinion, a little bit of light oil. I use air tool oil, sometimes even like John Deere High Guard, just whatever I happen to have. A little bit on the bearing. You don't want it completely saturated, but you do want it with some oil. Okay. Then, tempting to just drop it in, but if you do, then you'll knock the sleeve and the shim off. Same deal, lightly oil it up. Okay. Don't knock it off the stands. They will typically balance. You get them in the right spot. Not like that. So I have my shim, solid sleeve, inner bearing, shim under the inner bearing. Okay. So now that is in. Wondering what this is on the yoke. You'll see in a minute. Now on this step, I always use my old pinion nut because your new pinion nut you don't really want to use until the final assembly. They're basically like a keeper nut, so you don't have them back off. So you don't want to run them on 3 or 4 times while you're doing the setup. I always use red Loctite when I set the pinion at the final time, but okay. So now we're just going to snug the pinion nut up. Get it to pull the yoke on completely. A lot of people throw an impact on it and go to town. It's not what you want to do. And as you're doing it, you'll have play in it. That's normal. I can't see that in the camera, but this is normal until you get the yoke pulled on all the way. Okay, finally getting her to torque. Yoke is seated. I have no in-play in it at all. So now, what you would do is pull this brace off and check your rotational torque. I would bet you it's going to be low, obviously. It's not torqued up, but I at least want to see some value there before I torque it to 150 or 200 foot-pounds and then it's too tight. So I'm going to pull this off, bring you back in the video, and we'll see what we have for rotational torque. Okay, you can see my setup's changed a little bit. It's easier to handle when you're not trying to fight it rolling on you. So, I had over 20 inch-pounds of rotational torque at probably not even 50 foot-pounds of pinion nut torque, so that's too tight. That tells me I need to make my sleeve longer on the pinion. So I have an extra shim here from my pack. I'm going to pull this bearing making sure I don't lose my existing shim, which is usually stuck on the bearing. So now I'm going to have 2 shims. Make sure they're clean, nothing in between them. Back in it goes. Just got to be careful you don't get them chewed up on the splines when you go to put it back in, because you can wreck a shim real quick doing that. So now I'm holding the pinion here. I've got my little wiper, or my slinger, whatever you want to call it. This is the probably frustrating part for people that have never done too many of these, but you gotta get it right. It takes a little bit. It's not just a one time and go. I don't care if you use the little dial indicator setup that clamps in the housing. I've used those and it'll get you real close, but doesn't always get you perfect pattern wise, and I mean when you're setting pinion bearing preload you gotta do it anyway. So some of the tools out there are pretty handy, but they're not all absolutely required. Like people want to make you think. Typically the people selling the tools. this little bad boy, if you're going to be doing rear end setups, I assume you can manufacture your own angle iron pinion yoke support holder thing, whatever you call it. Okay, not quite down all the way yet, but I have virtually no preload on the bearings. I don't have in and out play, which is good. So now what I'll do is I'll torque it to like 50 foot-pounds, pull this off, and see what I have for rotational torque. And I just kind of inch up on it. I don't go for broke on 200 foot-pounds right off the bat. Extension on this baby. There's 50 foot-pounds. It definitely has some preload now. Okay, I'll pull this back off and we'll see what we got. We'll just run this one through, no cuts, no edits, and see what it's like. And you have to do this 5 or 6 times to get where you need to be. Like I said, 20 inch-pounds is what they call for on new bearings. I just kind of spin it a little bit, and you see how it kind of freed up there? We're way under. I'll just give you a little demonstration. So when I say rotational torque, 1/8" socket, inch-pound torque wrench, it's set to 20 inch-pounds. It should snap, or it should click like that when you have the right amount of preload on your bearing. And you can see I have virtually no preload on it right now. I don't have any in and out play, but I have not enough preload on the bearing to make them live. So now I need to go back in and make that sleeve shorter. So I had a 15 on it, I added a 10, I need to take it back out and probably put a 5 on it, or put a 20 on it total. Get rid of 5 thou out of that sleeve. However you want to do it. I like to have the heavier shim. The heaviest shim I can get on that sleeve, the better. Just because they're a little bit more durable than a super thin one. So I'll go through my stack here off camera and I'll put it back together. Hopefully this time I'm really close and I have some measurable preload when I check it next time. So this is what it looks like when you're just a little bit too tight. Now before I said I was at 25 on the shim. That's that stack right there. I didn't have a single that was 20, so I had to put 2 together to get 20. So what I do is I keep this stack by itself. So now I have 20, and I know 20 is too tight. 25 is too loose, 20 is too tight. I gotta find some combination that gives me 21, 22, 23, somewhere in there is where this shim is gonna end up. But here is what I'm gonna show you. It's going to lie at me. Oh, it was already broke. So there's my 20 inch-pounds, and it's not even moving yet. I'm just supporting the head of it so it doesn't fall off there. Now what you want is not necessarily the braking force, but as you're turning it, when you get it preloaded correctly, the turning is really where you'll feel it braking. Not necessarily when you start it. Like it should probably always brake when you initially start, but then as you're going around, you should be kind of like right on that line of it clicking back and forth. That's how you know it's right. So this one, what it's telling me right now is it's too tight. Now I can turn my wrench up and find out exactly how much too tight, but it really doesn't matter. I just want to be 20 inch-pounds. That's the high end of the spec on a 12 bolt. So I'm going to do something here, and don't repeat it, but to speed things up, taking them off, you can use an impact. Do not use it putting it together. Don't do it. Just resist the temptation. Don't do it. So yeah, just show you this coming apart. I used an aluminum or brass. You put a new yoke in, the splines are usually really tight on a new yoke. So the first half a dozen times it goes on and off, you kind of got to help it a little bit. Okay, so now I got to find some combination that gives me 20 plus. Just take it out. Okay, I'll get it and I'll be back. All right, well, I made a couple more goes at it. 22 was too tight. 23.5 was too tight. I'm back to 25, maybe 25.5. And I was going to show you this real quick. I think it's going to be too loose, but we're torqued to 50 foot-pounds right now. And this is what you get. Keep in mind, we're going to take this thing to probably 175, 200 on the pinion nut, so it's going to tighten up. I may need to grow it a little bit more, but I wanted to show you that before I did it. Oh, come on. And I will say, just a little tip, you want to make sure these yoke bolts are tight. If you leave them loose, like just throw them through there, it will egg out a hole in a yoke. Ask me how I know. Okay, so we're going to go 150. I'm kind of skipping 100 because I think it's still going to be loose. We'll see if I'm right or not. $150. There you at. 102. Come on, baby. You're gonna tighten up. I may have to grow it a bit. Mm. 141, real close. $148.8, that's close enough to 150 for me. Still feels loose, but we're getting closer. See what it feels like, and we may have her. May be able to go 200 on this bad boy. I mean, I know guys that swear by 225, 250. I mean, if you can't maintain your preload at 200 foot-pounds, you got a problem. That's getting there. It actually feels nice. Whoa, not enough. Not enough. Okay. That's a good sign. I mean, if I was way too tight, I'd kind of be worried about the bearings, but we're not way too tight, so we can give her the beans now. Give her the beans. It's always good to kind of sneak up on it with your pinion nut torque and your preload. I mean, you don't just want to throw some random shim in there and zip it to 200 and Burnell a race or stress the cage on the bearing any more than you have to. So start at the 50 foot-pounds, kind of get in the ballpark. Obviously, spinning it loose with no in play is kind of a good place to start, and then put some torque to it. Again, make sure those are snug, especially when you start going to 150 to 200. Don't want to tear up a yoke. 200 it is. 240. Like I said, if this lands in the right spot, torque-wise, $197, we gotta get a little more. $201 on the money. And another little thing, people will tell me I'm wrong, whatever. I do this without a seal because I want to know exactly what the bearings alone have. I don't know how much a seal adds. It may be fractional, very little, I don't know. I don't care. I don't want anything that can mask what the pinion bearings have on them. Ooh, that feels nice. Like I said, 20 inch-pounds is the high end of the spec. It could be down to 15, but really 20 is kind of what you're shooting for. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not far off. I'm not quite there yet. Okay. So I'm going to take her to 225. See if that gets me that extra little bit of preload I want. You can run these things up to 275, 300 pounds. I mean, when you have a crush sleeve in there, I've torqued them to well over 300 before to get the preload right, because you got to crush that sleeve. So the threads will take it. I don't go above 250. If I can't get the preload I want at 250 with a sleeve, I change the length of my sleeve. So we're still in the game here. And one other little thing, when you're setting that sleeve, if you have two shims, use the thicker shim. People will typically put towards the sleeve versus the thinner shim being out towards the bearing. I don't know that it really matters a whole hell of a lot because it all should be turning in there together, but that's just what some people say. In my mind, I kind of think the thicker shim being towards the front bearing is better, but whatever. $225. $224. 15. $224.8. That's good enough, snappy. I know these videos are long, but I feel like you kind of have to see it to really appreciate what all you got to do to get it right. Wait till we start doing the carrier bearing shims. Those will be a lot of fun. Okay, I'm going to say that feels like about 18 inch-pounds. There we go. See how your brake? There you go. That's what you want. Right there. Snap. 225 puts me right at 20 inch-pounds rotational. So, and it's kind of braking on the uphill side versus on the downhill side, so you just kind of pay attention to that. Like once it starts turning it uphill, brake. Brake. So, that's good. That's what you want. Pinion is set. Now I know the length of my shim, and when I take this back apart to put the seal in, as long as I torque that new nut to 225 foot-pounds, or 224.8, it'll be exactly back to where it was bearing preload. So that's why I do it this way. Don't have the seal in it. Record my torque so I know exactly where to put it back to. So yeah, the next thing will be getting the carrier in, getting backlash figured out, getting preload figured out for the carrier. And then it'll be about time to order some axles. So, okay, that's how you set the Pinion up. Pretty simple.